Hey guys, Miss Burke here. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about Edgar Allan Poe's story Hop Frog before you begin reading it. Now, you're probably more familiar with Poe's terror work and Gothic work, and this piece is a little bit different. The first time I read this piece, I was expecting it to maybe be like a fairy tale or a fairy story because that's kind of how it starts. However, Hop Frog is actually a satire. If you remember last week, we studied satire with The Devil and Tom Walker. And this story, it actually starts with the idea of joking. Poe writes, I never knew anyone so keenly alive to a joke as the king was. He seemed only to live for joking. So the role of joking, of making fun, is going to be key to this story. Um, Now, in this story, we have a king who likes to tell jokes. He has 7 ministers who are all accomplished jokers. The king's jokes, however, don't rely on wit. Rather, they're more about making fun of others. So I hope you kind of sense the likelihood here that a trick is going to be played. We've seen this archetype before where somebody who plays jokes, plays tricks, has a joke played on them. And without giving too much away, I will tell you a little bit about the two main characters in the story. There's the king's fool, because every king should have a fool, and a young dancer. Now, the fool is the Hop Frog of the title. He's a crippled dwarf. And the young dancer is a woman named Trippetta, also a dwarf, but a well-proportioned one. And as the story goes, just very briefly, Hop Frog is asked by the king to come up with an idea for a costume for him and his ministers to wear to a masquerade ball. But before getting Hop Frog's ideas, they torment him, they make fun of him, they make him drink alcohol, which they know that he doesn't enjoy doing. Um, and so I hope you can kind of see that the more they push Hop Frog, the more he wants to push back. And as you've probably guessed, the resolution of the story involves a practical joke that rather turns on the king. But instead of telling you about that, I'm going to ask you to read the story. The rest of the story is fairly predictable, but what makes it such a good story, despite the predictability, is not only the way Poe plots it, because it really is perfectly set up, but also the satirical language in which it's told. My favorite line, Poe writes, characters, my fine fellow, we need characters, all of us, ha-ha. And as this was seriously meant for a joke, his laugh was chorused by the 7. Now, that line there is about the satire of power. He's talking about how one person will do something and others will follow. But also, this piece is a satire about how the powerful have no qualms about humiliating or belittling those who are less powerful. And so the story works very well on this level. Now, if you need a reminder about satire, you can go back and watch that satire versus parody video. In fact, that's probably not a bad idea before you read the story. Now, Hop Frog wears a motley, which is what you're looking at right here on the screen, which is a court jester's costume. This may be familiar to you as one of the characters, the villain in The Cask of Amontillado, also wears the motley. And this is a Harlequin jester's costume. I just think it's interesting that both Hop Frog and Amontillado are revenge stories and satires as well, and they both involve this Harlequin pattern. As you read the story, I want you to pay special attention to the grating of Hop Frog's teeth. Poe uses this as a symbolic element, and Hop Frog, before he comes up with his plan to play this practical joke on the king, and again, just after executing it, he grates his teeth. Now, Poe often uses teeth as a sign of mortality, as in lips writhing about the teeth of the mesmerized men in the story of the facts of the case of M. Valdemar, and the obsession over teeth in Berenice. So teeth often play an important symbolic role in Poe's stories. I also want to draw your attention to the possibly autobiographical element of Hop Frog. The jester Hop Frog, like Poe, was kidnapped from home and presented to the king. And some people see this as a possible reference to his wealthy foster father, John Allen. Like Hop Frog, Edgar Allan Poe also had problems with alcohol. Hop Frog is actually currently being filmed right now, and it's going to star Peter Dinklage, who you may recognize from Game of Thrones or the film Death at a Funeral, as Hop Frog. And it's directed by Mark Polanski, who directed a film named Penelope, he often directs satirical fairy tales. Now, Dinklage believes this movie is something to get very, very excited about. He thinks it's still an important social commentary. And he writes that Hop Frog is beautiful and vicious. It has haunted me ever since I read Poe's original tale of revenge years ago. I can think of no other director than Mark Polanski to bring this new imagining of it vibrantly to life.